Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Let's move on to you, Mike, in which we are going to be talking about something that I think you raised last week, which was Google's content moderation, AI moderation, and this time in the context of Google Posts. Right. What's going on?
So spending a lot of time in the forum, as I've told you, and one of the frequent, I think I calculated was roughly 4% of all posts, complaints is posts being rejected and the small business owner having no clue why they were rejected. Now, as I dug into it, I discovered several things. 2 months ago, Google issued new guidelines around images for posts that they couldn't be repetitive, used previously. And there was also a quality issuance. They couldn't be blurry and that sort of thing. And Google apparently started implementing that without telling anybody, but the posts would just show up as rejected. Also, this happened quite a while ago. Google implemented an AI first approach to moderation around racy images and spoofed images and gun images. And just rejected all of those. And then on top of that, those reasons for rejection, there was apparently a bug where, I don't know, over the last 2 weeks, virtually everything was rejected, although it was still showing up in the profile. So the business would have to know that there's 3 reasons for rejection and would have to go and check their profile to see if the image was there. And if it was, great, don't worry about it. Or they'd have to know that it was, a repeat image, but Google didn't, or that they would have to be capable of driving it through the AI and seeing if the image was racy. Small businesses aren't capable of any of that. And Google provided no escalation process, nor any communication. They just rejected these. So businesses flooded in. Why is my post rejected? When I pointed out that the picture of 3 old farts sitting around a table podcasting was classified as racy, they, threw up their arms in disgust and couldn't figure out how they were going to post anything in the future. So it's like, here's a situation where Google could have provided an avenue for escalation. They didn't. They could have provided an explanation on some of them. This is blurry. This is a repeat. Those wouldn't hurt anybody to do that. Wouldn't, or this is racy even, wouldn't hurt anybody to do that, but they don't. They just reject.
Weren't they doing that with suspensions at one point, giving you some rationale for that?
Only in the very briefest forms. Suspensions are way up in the forms too. There's probably 3,000 suspension requests, unsuspension requests in the form. Google has an escalation process there. It's supposed to be 3 days. It's now over 4 weeks. Nobody's hearing back. It's like throwing this stuff into a deep hole. And so there is an escalation process, but it isn't working because it's not properly staffed. They crank up the algorithm. So, but the thing with posts is, you got to be a rocket scientist to get a post up and to get it to stick. And then when you don't, there's no avenue. It's just an example to me of Google not providing adequate context nor path for resolving it.
Well, so I should mention, I'm always trashing Facebook on in the newsletter to varying degrees depending on the story. And they recently said they were going to invest and create customer service, beef up their customer service, or create a new group around customer service for content suspensions or content takedowns. And we'll see how that plays out. I don't know if that will manifest in a sort of a local or digital marketing context as opposed to like controversial posts that people put up. But I mean, they deserve some credit at least for the intention to create that. We'll see what actually happens.
But my thing is, if you're going to go AI first, okay, maybe it's cost effective, but then you still have to put in place guardrails for the AI process so that businesses don't waste their time, searching in vain for an answer to a question that they never had.
Absolutely. But I mean, it seems like Google's been around since how long? 1998 or 97 or something. So I think their MO is very well established at this
You,
point.
you think I'm pissing into the wind, as it were? All
Yes,
right, I'll
in
accept that.
a word, yes. I mean, we of course agree, but all right. So David, did you want to say anything more about that item before we head to your talking
just
points?
a quick aside that this is, as you guys just established, like this is known Google behavior at this point, and yet there's still this confusion, bewilderment on the part of many higher ups at Google. Why aren't we able to get SMBs to adopt Google business profiles? Why aren't they using them like Facebook profiles, et cetera, et cetera? And I don't think that this is so widespread that it's turning off all small business owners, but it's just indicative of Google's just sort of navel gazing product focus without actually realizing the real world implications of what their products in the wild are doing and having any empathy for the business owners who are trying to use them.
So the empathy side is true, but I realized over the last month that Google has become the first place that many new businesses are going now. In fact, I talked to a landscaper yesterday, and he said, we used to go to Yelp, we used to go to Facebook, but now all my friends and I search on Google. It's like Google first. I created a new profile. Google immediately buried all the reviews that I was getting. Why is that happening? So there is this trend in these, and I'm seeing a lot of these in the form of new businesses trying to get on Google and Google's algorithms punishing them for being new, which is an interesting sort of sidelight there. So the businesses have recognized the value, the new businesses. Google has yet to empathize with the reality of that. That's totally true.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.